Hello. This video explains the electrical control on the New Albany yard at Southern Indiana Railroad. The New Albany yard consists of 13 tracks, all of the switches involved, plus a lot of LED indicators. It also has a runaround track. It's all operated from the rotary switch on the front panel, where you choose the track number. When you choose that track number, it automatically lines all of the switches in the ladder portion of it to go to your selected track. There's also a numerical indicator on a shed, an LED next to the switch that's thrown, and an LED at the tail end of that same track to assist in choice. We'll take a look at the schematic. We'll start at the end at the tortoise switch machine. All it takes for the switch machine to operate are two wires on pin 1 and pin 8. Here's a picture of one with wires attached to it. You put 12 volts across those two terminals, and that motor will go all the way from one end to the other, and you reverse that polarity, it will go back to the other end. It's a stall motor, which means whenever it gets to the end, it'll sit there and just draw a little bit of current. There's also some other switches within that tortoise, the inside 6 terminals, you can use for double throw, double pole switches, operate LEDs or a ton of other things. Moving backwards, what powers the tortoise switch machine comes out of the relay block. The relays underneath the layout are the single pole double throw variety. There's a picture of them there. Those are multiple relays. You can see how the red and the black wires are what we call daisy chained to power either the normally open or the normally closed contact. And what goes to the tortoise comes out of that bare one in the middle, the open contact. What powers the relay and makes it switch is a coil inside the relay that comes out of the Arduino. When the output from the Arduino goes high, in other words, it puts current out from that contact, it trips that coil in the relay. The coil is internal, of course, but the red, green, orange wires that you see at the bottom of the screen are actually what power that coil, and it will trip that relay on the other end to go from normally open to closed, or vice versa. That sends the electrical signal down to the tortoise. The vertical lines you see on the schematic are positive 12 and negative 12 volts that are eventually sent to the tortoise on either pin 1 or pin 8. Where that positive 12 and negative 12 come from are two old, I just used train transformers. Each one of them is set on 12 volts, but they come out as opposite polarity. Here's the transformers under the layout. And the direction switch is taped down to where it can't be moved. And if you see what's coming out the back side, you've got a common and a positive coming out of each one of the transformers. The two commons are tied together, and then the positive from one goes to the plus 12 volt side, and the power out from the other goes to the negative 12 volt side. So as a result, you get an opposite polarity but equal voltage when the relay trips. Let's go back to the schematic. Up the upper left, you can see the rotary switch. 5 volts positive is fed into the common input on that, and then there are 13 outputs out of the rotary switch. I've only shown 3 here just to keep the clutter down. Here's a picture of one out of a catalog, and here's the picture of ours under the layout. Got a lot of wires wrapped around it. It looks pretty busy. When the rotary switch is moved, it makes a contact that goes to an input on the Arduino right there. That wire comes in and puts a positive, a high signal on the input of the Arduino, and the programming in the Arduino then tells it what to do. You've probably figured out by now that the brains of the whole thing is the Arduino. I will show some of the Arduino listing. You can't read it directly from the Arduino itself. Whenever you put the program into the Arduino, it gets compiled into machine language, so it's not possible to plug into it and read the program directly. Therefore, we have a copy of this there at the club. It's 10 pages long, but I'll kind of run through what it's trying to do. This first page is what runs when you power the Arduino up. When you turn the power onto the layout, it puts power to the Arduino and it cranks up and it reads all of this. And pretty much all it's doing right here is it's setting all the variables up. It's telling it what libraries to include and how to put the configure the pins on the Arduino board itself. It also sets up how it's going to communicate with the outside world, and you can see pin modes. That just tells the inputs and outputs on the board how to behave. This section starts the loop, and it continually runs this several times a second. The whole time it's powered up. It just keeps looking at these lines one at a time and decides what it needs to do to act on them. This particular section, at the top, you'll see that it reads the position of that rotary switch and sends it to the Arduino brain. There will be a set of instructions for each switch position within this program. This particular one refers to the switch while it's in position 5. You can see that while the value of 5 does not equal 0, these are all the things you need to do. And it will print out to a display if you have one. It will set where the cursor is on that little display on top of the model shed next to the track. It will also write the track number or the switch number that you've got it selected to that display. Then it will set all the tortoises, and everything is set in the direction it needs to go for you to come from the beginning of the yard straight into track 5. There's another small board with a smaller Arduino on it off to the left of that main board that runs the 13 tracks in the New Albany yard. This board enables operation from both sides of the yard. There's a set of switches for each of those relays you can see right there. And if either one of those switches is thrown from either side of the layout, it will tell that Arduino how to set that corresponding tortoise up for the switch. That keeps you from having to run around from one side to the other. Just throw a switch. Hopefully that explains the operation of that ladder yard. Feel free to suggest any edits to this video if anything's unclear. We'll be glad to do it over. Thank you.